Good morning, guys. Congress will return to Capitol Hill today after a 2-week recess, and the clock is ticking for Republicans to get President Trump's big, beautiful bill wrapped up before Memorial Day. But Democrats are still not on board. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Cory Booker holding a sit-in protest on the steps of the Capitol yesterday for more than 12 hours. The Democrats voicing their opposition to the budget bill and the Trump administration's first-year agenda. Watch this.
You work hard and play by the rules. Here in America, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, you should be able to live a comfortable life. Instead of leaning into that vision of bringing the American dream to life, this Republican budget is actually doing the exact opposite.
And so when we're talking about on that chopping block includes things like SNAP. So don't tell me you believe in MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and then cut the funding that gets people access to the healthy, fresh foods.
The current plan for the budget lays the groundwork for extending Trump's 2017 tax plan, cutting taxes by about $5 trillion and delivering on newer promises like no tax on tips or overtime. Though an uphill battle, President Trump praised the work of Congress this weekend, saying this is a crucial week to work on the bill, which will also include strong border security measures, major military advancements, and powerful spending reforms. Meanwhile, this week, Trump marks his first 100 days back in office. He's traveling to Michigan to celebrate that milestone tomorrow, where he's expected to highlight his administration's success so far on border security, inflation, and DOGE efforts.
What do you think you're doing?
Excuse me?
Stand right there. You look like you're sweating.
Well, it's hot.
Or you've been running.
Why would I be running?
Because you're a part of it. Pier 9, runners heading south.
I'm a tourist.
Tourists don't run. Droid assistance, please.
Wait, what is he?
He said hang.
Please understand.
Hang.
No, he means what?
Hang.
Tell him you mean what?
I don't watch that show, but I understand the reference. I get it, and it's a meme, and it's Monday, and we have Assault That Lib ready to go right here first thing in the morning. We are hydrating here, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, April 27th, 2025. We're hydrating because I brought my kids to the Gulf of America yesterday. I'll even show you a video. Army Black Hawk pilot in D.C. that smashed into the side of a commercial aircraft, who was a DEI hire, who was a Joe Biden employee. We now know exactly why this tragedy happened. This is something that is very important to me because we fly in and out of D.C., and I'm often on a plane with my family, just like 67 souls that are no longer with us. So we're going to cover that right off the top this morning. I think it's such an important story. It broke in the New York Times just yesterday. White House puts 100 illegal alien mugshots on the lawn, leading to absolute hysterical hilarity on cable news. Oh, yeah. And, baby, we got some massive breaking news about what we're going to be up to this week. Get ready. We're going to rock with Tom Fitton today from Judicial Watch to talk about the Supreme Court lunacy. Some major news out of the Supreme Court today. Pollster Mark Mitchell, our absolute favorite pollster, will tell us what's happening with Trump's first 100 days. I think President Trump is on day 98 or 99 today. Okay, here we go. We are going to be live for Donald Trump's big MAGA rally tomorrow in Michigan. Sam Antar will join the program. He has some massive news to break. He's an investigator going after Letitia James. Ooh, baby, they're going to have to start sewing a really big jail suit jumper for Big Tish. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Go gold. Gold is skyrocketing right now. Not supposed to say it, but have you been checking the gold markets? Of course, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because, I'm invested in gold. I'm invested in gold. You should be invested in gold. When, as President Trump resets the table and we get back to the real economy, people are going to value real assets more. And this is why I encourage you to go check out my friends at Advantage Gold. I do it every single week, ladies and gentlemen, because it's smart, all right? And we don't get to say very many smart things on the show. It's few and far between. And so I'm going to take my W's when I can. The economy is on thin ice. Prices are eating away at your savings, and the stock market is very much a roller coaster. The elites are investing in physical gold and silver, along with nation states. You should join me in doing the same thing. This is why I want you to join me at the Advantage Gold Summit on April 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Advantage Gold Summit is a must-attend event. You'll discover how to build your own strategic wealth. Also, they're giving away $100,000 in free silver. Each person can claim up to $1,000 in free silver plus $300 in bonuses. You must attend live to learn how. Lock in your spot. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545 to get ahead of the next financial meltdown. Benny to 85545 today. Join Advantage Gold's Silver Summit now. Okay. Data message rates apply. Performance may vary. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no variation of performance at the White House today. The White House began the day and chose violence. Well, it was the criminal aliens that chose violence. This is what the White House lawn looks like today. It is lined with criminal alien mugshots and the heinous crimes that they have been deported for. This is an incredible troll. So they're using yard signs. Yard signs win elections, and now the White House, for the first time, I think ever, is using yard signs. There's going to be a random call out, and I know producer Danny's got it. Can you give me those goofy Valentine hearts that Jill Biden would put up in the yard and then walk Dementia Joe through like it was a hospice activity hour? That was the only other time I've seen something planted in the White House lawn. I've never seen anybody use stick something in the White House lawn. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. A genius move for a couple of reasons. One, there is currently a massive psyop going on right now in the country to say that all criminal aliens have got to stay. We're going to talk about that. With Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, there are plenty of court rulings. The reason why they need criminal aliens to stay is that they need criminal voters. That's why they hand them all social security numbers and a voting card as soon as they can. This is something that will be the linchpin that says whether the Democrat Party... Oh, here we go. I'm going to play an MSNBC clip. Get your salt shakers ready. I'm going to play an MSNBC. Get your salt shakers ready, okay? We're getting back to the salt that lib era of the show. This was the last time we saw somebody put stakes in the White House lawn. Healing. Look at that. Look at them out there. Look at Joe and Jill meandering around. Oh, okay, be careful. These are the dogs that are clearly rabid and biting everyone that comes within their path. Okay, so this is old school. Man, it's what a fever dream we've been through. What a painful time we've been through as a country. Joe Biden nearly fell directly on his ass at the Vatican this weekend during the Pope's funeral. So embarrassing. Okay, so thank you. This is what I voted against. This is what I voted for. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the point of all of this, which is that you can't have a future of a Democratic Party without criminal aliens. Two important pieces of data that we researched this weekend with the help of Stephen Miller. One, Democrats probably have 20 extra House seats because of criminal aliens, because they count aliens in the census. They shouldn't do that, of course. It should be totally illegal. You should have to be a U.S. citizen to be counted in the census. But the way that allocation of congressional districts work, the Democrats have 20 extra House seats. There should be a permanent minority of Democrats in the U.S. House. That's item number one that they are thankful. Item number two is Democrats don't have kids. This is just a matter of fact. This is something that we know. We're going to speak with pollster Mark Mitchell in a little bit, but what we know about Democrats is that they don't have children. It is actually only Republicans that reproduce. This is why they have to wholesale own all of the institutions of indoctrination, known as the greater education system in the country, to try and rip our children away from us. This is why we must be firm parents. But also, again, there's no other way to say it. Democrats literally cut their dicks off. They don't want to reproduce. They don't want to. Metaphorically, right? Physically, it is what it is. Okay? So this is a great opportunity for us to take the country back because we're the only ones who have kids, actually. You ever met a lib? Imagine having a kid, it's really slovenly, pink hair, bad breath, no deodorant, hairy armpits, yellow teeth, piercings. No, thank you. No, thank you. I've seen plenty of marches. I understand what the Women's March looks like, okay? So, yeah, like the criminal aliens are their children. The criminal aliens are their only hope to keep their party going. And this is why they must have them here in the country. They're desperate to keep them. This is why we saw all the judges get arrested. The judges were arrested, and this is an amazing thing. Can you grab me that Pam Bondi clip talking about, because we didn't have this yesterday. We didn't have this on the show on Friday. She was talking about why they arrested the judge in Milwaukee. We didn't have like Pam Bondi fully explaining it. The judge in Milwaukee got arrested right when we went live, and we didn't have the full story. You know, the charging documents then were released later in the day, and we were able to get the full story, but Pam Bondi sums it up pretty efficiently. This judge took the criminal alien who was in her courthouse for rape or domestic abuse and battery, some type of like horrible crime, and protected the criminal alien like it was her own son. Like, these people are flying down having margaritas with MS-13 members. It's like their own children, because they don't have children. This is their only hope. Their only hope is the 10 to 20 million criminal aliens that Joe Biden brought into the country. It's like they view that as their like political children, because they're not having actual children. I don't have the same. I want to deport them all because I have actual American children. Man up and like have an actual family. I said I'd show you guys photo our Gulf of America trip here. No, it's not. My Telegram just froze. Okay, guys, get me Pam Bondi. I want the Pam Bondi explanation of this. And we got so much more to talk about, but this is important. You got it? All right, here we go. Here's what the judge did. Tell me if this. Okay, this is not the same clip I was thinking about, but as long as she tells the same story, that's fine by me. Her describing the judge and what the judge did to get arrested, and now we finally have the handcuffs footage. Let's go.
The reason they make arrests in courtrooms all the time is because it's safe. A defendant has gone through security. They don't have a weapon. It's an easy arrest. No one's injured. But because she jeopardized the lives of law enforcement officers, even the defendant, by doing this. They had to have a chase down the street while victims of a crime were sitting in a courtroom.
Judge in jail?
Judge got arrested. She sure did.
So David Brooks, you know him, the columnist for the New York Times, who on PBS over the weekend said that the judge acted heroic.
Well,
what do you say to that?
I say the victims of crime should be very happy today, because these victims of crime, they deserve justice. This is a criminal judge sitting on a...
Yeah, maybe she goes into it there. Hold on, unmute it.
Any criminal should be very happy today, because these victims of crime, they deserve justice. This is a criminal judge sitting on a criminal bench. And anyone who's going to let any criminal defendant out a back door is absurd.
How much?
So that's what she did. She literally human smuggled him. She smuggled him. Now she's arrested. Here we go. Here's her getting smuggled out in handcuffs. This is the judge in Milwaukee. Another judge in handcuffs in New Mexico for doing something similar, letting the criminal aliens live in their house. She screamed and misdirected the ICE agents that were there to arrest them, and then she literally human trafficked the criminal alien out of a secret back private door that she had in the courthouse because she's a judge. Tell me that these psychotic, childless libs are not treating these criminal aliens like their own children. That's what's going on here. And as promised, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Here's my kids at the Gulf of America. This weekend, I have my own kids, so I don't need a bunch of criminal aliens. This is Baby Whitaker. There, he's asleep, sleeping at the beach, doing a great job. And here's my other three kids. There we go. Beautiful Gulf of America. We live about 30 minutes from the Gulf of America here where we do the show. So there you go. Easy little drive for us. Don't need the criminal aliens. Manned up and started my own family, right? And it's something that libs are incapable of doing. So that kind of explains it all. Also, I'm glad we played that Pam Bondi clip because it shows you how great the iconography is at the White House, because they have all of the mugshots behind every single press hit today at the White House. If you could pop it up, we don't need to hear any audio, but you can see that there's criminal aliens in every single shot, right? So you can see that, like, so every news company that does a hit from the White House, wrong video. does a hit from the White House. You can see the mugshots of the criminal aliens. They're behind her. The one that we just played, Klein. The one that we just played. Yeah. Okay. Well, we just played it. So, okay. Well, anyway, MSNBC is having a total meltdown over this. And here's Peter Doocy. Good example. Let's go.
Peter Doocy is live at the White House with all the details for us. Hey, Peter.
Good morning, and you can see behind us in the wider shot, the North Lawn is dotted with 100 yard signs that show illegal immigrant mugshots next to the heinous crime that they have been accused of. And if there are judges in this country who are trying to help these illegal immigrants, the 100 listed on the lawn, avoid prosecution, then the White House has a big problem with them, too.
That's very dangerous territory. And we have to be able to do what I ran on. I ran on a campaign of taking criminals out of our country, murderers, drug dealers. We have to be allowed to do it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer.
A new Fox poll shows a majority, 55%, approve of Trump's job performance on border security, 40% disapprove. And at the bottom of this hour, Caroline Leavitt is teasing ahead. This week will officially mark 100 days of promises made and promises kept by President Trump, kicking off the week with a press briefing bright and early at 8:30 a.m. with Tom Homan. Tune in.
Boom. So Tom Homan was at the press briefing, 8:30 a.m., and that was early. We take press briefings on this channel, but that was a little off the schedule for us. Here's what we missed with Tom Homan. Judges helping illegals will go to prison.
I said from day one, you don't have to support ICE's operations. You can support sanctuary cities if that's what you desire to do. Sanctuary cities can stand aside and watch ICE keep their communities safe, because any public official, whether you're mayor, city councilman, or governor, their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. And ICE has been clear, we're targeting public safety threats and national security threats. I can't believe there's any elected official, and especially a judge, that doesn't believe we should be doing that, and they should be helping us. But I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, I've said this 1,000 times, when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted, judge or not.
We finally got the photos, man. It's so awesome. We finally got the photos. Here we go. They mean it. They mean it. Where are the arrests? Here they are. These are Democrat judges. These are elected Democrat officials in handcuffs. And this is just the beginning. Carolyn Leavitt says the Supreme Court can come get it too. Is the Supreme Court protected against arrests? Let's listen.
Milwaukee County Circuit Judge for allegedly helping illegal immigrants get away. As you guys look at other judges, would you ever arrest somebody higher up on the judicial food chain, like a federal judge or even a Supreme Court justice?
Well, that's a hypothetical question. Again, I defer you to the Department of Justice for individuals that they are looking at or individual cases. But let's be clear about what this judge did. She obstructed federal law enforcement who were looking for an illegal alien in her courthouse. She showed that illegal alien the door to evade law enforcement officials. That is a clear-cut case of obstruction. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that. And so anyone who is breaking the law or obstructing federal law enforcement officials from doing their jobs is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted. Absolutely.
Supreme Court can come get it too. Please. Please. MSNBC, ladies and gentlemen, for a much-needed Salt That Lib. We salt libs on this program. If you're new to the show, what we do is we just put salt shakers in the comment section as a salty lib appears on screen crying over the fact that the White House put up the mugshots of criminal aliens in the yard today. Let's freaking go. Give me that salt.
White House has put up about 100 posters of what they say are unauthorized immigrants who have been arrested for violent crimes. You can see them there. They put them up on the driveway of the White House. If you look here, that's the West Wing just at the forefront, the executive mansion itself to the left. But what's particularly noteworthy about this location is it is right directly behind the positions where TV correspondents do their hits from the White House lawn. So therefore, no matter what network you're on, that includes MSNBC, if you're doing a hit from the White House right now, those pictures will be behind you. The White House doing a briefing in about a half hour about what they're doing here.
Such a great troll. This is great. I got a buddy at the White House. We have too much travel this week. We were supposed to be at the White House today. They're doing like special briefings and stuff today. We just couldn't make it work logistically. Sucks. We'll be back. This is something that we would have seen. This is the photo that I would have posted though, right here. The rotund Dominican fentanyl dealer who has the photo that went viral and then turned into 100 million memes right there as you get onto the sidewalk to walk into the briefing room. So this is the final photo that every single reporter sees, and this is the meme. So it's just absolutely perfect. Here's the full list right here, or at least you can see all of the crimes available. And we're really glad that we're finally getting a little bit of transparency here for people who have committed crimes. A lot of these people are murderers. A lot of these people have stolen and taken lives. It's completely evil, and we deserve answers, and the families deserve some type of closure, whatever you can possibly get. You don't have full spiritual closure on these kind of things, but at the very least, you should be able to know that the person who did a bad thing to your family is being punished, right? So what about that Army Black Hawk pilot who crashed into that commercial aircraft just a week after President Trump was sworn in? Now, we've snapped on this and gone and done a couple of shows. We've asked everybody who's sort of within range of this topic on our programming what's going on here and why we have no answers about this. Seems like we finally got answers. At the very least, we know what happened and we know who is responsible, and our worst suspicions have been confirmed. Our darkest inferences have been held up. Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, this crash, according to the New York Times, and if you don't mind, let's pop up the New York Times article here, which you can tell the New York Times knows exactly who was responsible for the crash because they bury the lead, is what it's called in the profession. Buried the lead. I did 15 years working for corporate media in Washington, D.C. This is called burying the lead in this 5,000-word article. At the very last paragraph, they say what happened. Why don't we read directly from the actual article itself? You're going to have to scroll a long way. This poor Klein's going to get arthritis scrolling through this thing all the way down. Look at how far, even at top speed. Yes, down at the very bottom. So here's what the article sets up. The article sets up that Captain Rebecca Lobach was on a training flight. She was training with Army pilots that were there to support her and to make sure that she gets her classification here. Rebecca Lobach refused multiple orders from her warrant officer, is what they're called. Warrant Officer Eves is specifically the warrant officer who was giving her orders. She broke multiple rules and then inexplicably slammed her helicopter without any evasive maneuver into the side of a commercial aircraft. That is what this article concludes. I guess here's the big question. Why? Let me give you all the information and we're just going to have to go through what potentially might have happened here. All right? So to set this all up, the Black Hawk was on a collision course with the commercial aircraft. Klein, I hate to do this to you, but there is actually a map here within this massive article. Yep, there's a map that's right up near the top. You'll see it. There's the plane path, and then there's the helicopter path. This collision course, up farther, this collision course is setting off massive alarms inside of the control tower. Now, the New York Times says that you could hire more control tower operators. You think I'm going to have an argument with that? Of course not. Totally. Hire as many radio control tower operators as you possibly can get your hands on. Totally. How do I support it? Where do I sign the petition? But that's not what the problem was here. Maybe it could have helped, but there was something else very dark, very mysterious, and very wrong with what was going on inside of that Army helicopter. As you can see here, And as we've shown you many times in various footage, there's footage of from the top of the Kennedy Center where you can literally see this helicopter going directly at the plane. For miles they were flying together. It's like this long lens. You can see the two coming at each other for miles. What the hell is going on here? Look at this map from the New York Times. These suckers were just headed straight for each other. What the hell is going on here? The radio control tower operator gets this massive alarm. Hey, these two aircraft are going to collide. Now, here's what's also very important here. The plane is doing something 100% legal and was doing exactly what was ordered. The commercial aircraft flying in from Wichita, Kansas, that has men, women, children, Olympians, Russian citizens, Chinese nationals on it. This plane and the pilots operating it were doing exactly what they were instructed to do. It is the Army helicopter that did something atrocious, horrible, dark, and evil in this circumstance. One, the helicopter is flying directly towards the plane, as you can see here. The control tower starts hitting the alarm. The first alarm that it hits is, hey, you're flying way too high. The helicopter was not allowed to fly at the height that it was flying. The helicopter was at 300 feet high. It is illegal for those types of helicopters to fly at that altitude because there's so much air traffic. They're going to fly really low. Those jet planes don't come in low, right? So why was that? Rebecca Loebach was ordered, according to the New York Times, ordered to descend. She didn't. Why? I don't know. The article doesn't explain it, but her warrant officer, who has twice as much experience flying these helicopters as her, said, get your plane down, and she didn't do it, which is crazy. And then here, ladies and gentlemen, let's just hop right in and read the article. Yeah, I'm sorry, but here, I'm going to start reading. Direct immediate intervention was needed that night. Instead of seeing and avoiding Flight 5342, Captain Loebach continued flying straight at it. I showed you the flight path. Investigators might never know why. There's no indication that she was suffering from mental health issues or at the time a medical event affected her during those final moments. I mean, listen, if she had a seizure, let's say, or if some type of she blacked out, well, then it's just an awful situation where a pilot had something horrible happen to the pilot. People have heart attacks, people have seizures. It is what it is. This is why you have a co-pilot. But there's no indication that that occurred here, according to the New York Times. 2 seconds after the controller cut out instructions about passing behind the jet, Warrant Officer Eves replied, affirming for the second time that the Black Hawk saw the traffic. Pat 25 has the aircraft in sight. Request visual separation. Visual separation was approved by the control tower. So they had communication, the control tower. They said, I see the plane. I see the plane. We see it. We're going to go behind it. Okay, fine. We're flying too high, but whatever. We're going to go behind it. That was their last communication. 15 seconds later, the helicopter on a beeline directly for the commercial aircraft, no deviation, no navigation. The tail doesn't even move on the helicopter, which is the number one indicator if the helicopter is trying to do an evasive maneuver. It just slams right into the side of it. Black Hawk was 15 seconds away from crossing paths with the jet. Warrant Officer Eves turns his attention to Captain Loebach. He told her he believed the air traffic control wanted them to turn left, turn left, turn left. Turning left would have opened up more space between the helicopter and the flight. She did not turn left. This is the very end of a 5,000-word article. What happened here? What the hell is going on? Bro, I am so sick of lies. You got to release the radio communications from inside of the helicopter. Those internal comms are absolutely recorded somewhere. What was going on? Why couldn't the warrant officer take control of the aircraft? Was he suicidal too? We don't know. Who was Rebecca Loebach? Well, she was an employee for Joe Biden. We know that as a matter of fact. There's actually a photo of her and Joe Biden and Alex Soros all together. I'm just stating what it is. It is what it is. Okay? Put it in the chat. Yeah, these are the photographs. You can see Mitt Romney there on stage, and then you can see right over Joe Biden's shoulder there is Alex Soros in the glasses. The second photograph, yeah. So here she is. She's escorting people around the White House. She was working at the White House. She was working for Joe Biden, and she was getting her training. Did she get failed into this position? Meaning, did they have to meet certain quotas in the military of female pilots? So was she promoted beyond her station? That's something I'd like to get into. Why couldn't somebody take control of the aircraft? I want to show you the aircraft just slamming into the side of the the helicopter slamming to the side of the commercial jet. Here's the long view. I need the close-up view, please. Next video. Look at this. The Army veteran Black Hawk pilot that we had on this show a month or two ago when this happened. This happened a week after Donald Trump was elected president. They said the tell here that something awful was about to happen is the tail of that helicopter. Now, if you go back to this and just keep looping this, what you'll notice is that the tail of the helicopter, not only is the plane flashing bright in the sky, and we have the communications that say that they saw the plane, but you'll notice that the tail rotor of the helicopter doesn't go up, down, sideways. It makes no evasive maneuver. These helicopters are designed to get out of the way of RPGs. These helicopters are designed to dip, bend, and bow in war zones. They can stop on a literal dime. These helicopters are designed to get the hell out of there. In fact, if you're looking to avoid that plane, this is exactly the aircraft you want to be in because of its maneuverability, because of its evasive action. Literally seconds, even just seconds before collision, if that helicopter pilot had decided to pull back, well, you probably would have prevented the collision, even seconds before, but they didn't. The tail doesn't even move. It just keeps flying and flying and flying. There was 11 children on that flight. 11 kids. 67 souls. And they died because the helicopter rotors ripped through the fuselage of the plane and the cabin of the plane, which is like a tin can. They died the most horrific death imaginable. What's going on here? We deserve to know everything. I've flown into D.C. with my family. You've flown into D.C. with your family. It's a common airport. Just in this year, Klein and I have flown into D.C. like 20 times. Okay? Just this 2025 alone. We've used this runway. We've been on this this is American Airlines. It's what I fly all the time. I'm sure you do too. We deserve to know more, but now we know who did it. We don't know why. So you're left to assume, I guess, 2 or 3 things. One, and here she is at the press dais, for instance, when she was working. I think she was working in communications with Karine Jean-Pierre. I think that was actually where she was working, in fact. I can't explain to you why. But Captain Rebecca Lobach, according to the New York Times, is 100% at fault here. Why would she do this? First, and probably the most generous explanation, total and complete incompetence. She should have never been behind that stick. She should have never been flying that bird. She was promoted beyond her station. She should have never had that position. Maybe she froze out of panic or fear, or just zoning out. I don't know. But that's the most generous explanation, is that some type of DEI or some type of forced promotional program that we said was wrought inside of the Biden administration, that put her in that chair. And she was unqualified to be there. That's the first explanation. The far darker explanation that you just must assume, given this New York Times report, is that she was targeting the commercial aircraft. I'm just saying what might have happened. At what point do you have to start asking the questions? Was she upset about Trump? Was she upset about the military? Was she having a manic episode? Given all available data, you can clearly see that the captain wanted this to happen, because She flew right at the plane. No evasive maneuvers, and with her co-pilots telling her, get the hell out of here. You're flying at the wrong height. You're flying directly at this thing. The control tower is telling us to get out of here, and they do nothing. Goodness gracious. I mean, you're just left to the darkest possible assumptions. Now, I don't know. But that's what's going on. I don't know. Here's what I do know. That helicopter targeted that commercial aircraft. You can see it. There's just no disputing the evidence. It's a horrible tragedy. This case is not closed as far as I'm concerned. I would really like to see the Pentagon get involved here. Really like to see Hegseth get involved here. I know there's a lot going on. But I'd like to see, what's happening inside of that cockpit. Maybe it would exonerate Rebecca Lobach, perhaps. The final thing I'll say, did she have a seizure? Did she pass out? Did something happen that was there a horrible malfunction with the instrumentation and she couldn't maneuver the aircraft? She couldn't maneuver? Okay, prove it. Be happy to say that's what happened. As soon as they give me that data, as soon as they give me that evidence and we review it, then it'd be like, yeah, that's what happened. But until then, all we're left with is this footage. And this article from the New York Times where they're clearly burying the lead. Burying the lead. This was big news yesterday. This was probably the biggest news of the day yesterday. Here's how it was covered in the media.
Report revealing the mistakes that could have led to the deadly collision between a Black Hawk helicopter and that American Airlines passenger jet back in January. According to the New York Times, 15 seconds before the collision, air traffic control advised the Army pilot to turn left, but she failed to do so. A few seconds later, her co-pilot also told her to switch course, but she still did not do it. Instead, the chopper slammed into the passenger plane, sending both aircraft into the Potomac River, killing all 67 people between both the helicopter and the jet.
Absolutely tragic.
Sucks, man. Sucks. All right. Well, that's the follow-up on that. We've done a lot of reporting on it, and we just got to say this is we're not satisfied yet, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep pressing, and when we get our Pete Hegseth interview, when we're at the Pentagon, when we're talking to the spokespeople there, this is what I'm going to ask about. Maybe we should book them. You know what I mean? Maybe we should book whoever's in charge of this base or who's ever in charge of the Army. I'd really like to get to the bottom of it. Where's the recordings? Show us what happened. Either exonerate or tell the truth, because there's a bunch of people dead. Okay. Yeah. Telling the truth, ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly what we do on this program. American financing is the truth, the true way out of spiraling credit card debt. It is the way that you can get off of the shaky ground of the economy as it is right now. Prices are stuck at really high level, and it seems like there's nothing affordable anymore. No wonder there's so many relying on credit card debt, and those credit card debts are skyrocketing. They have 20 and 30% on those cards, which I think is criminal and should be illegal. But that might be something very strange that I agree with AOC and Bernie Sanders on, but I think everybody should agree on that. Anyway, if you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home right now with a down payment on your high-interest credit card debt and give you real savings. On average, people just like you are saving $800 a month, plus they may close your loan as little as 10 days. Don't let the chaos of the economy get the very best of you. Make the call today. American Financing, it costs you nothing to get started, and it can delay your mortgage payments and get you out of these uncertain times. 888-528-1219 for American Financing. That 888-528-1219 for AmericanFinancing.net/Penny. AmericanFinancing.net/Penny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, cruising through here. Tom Fitton in just a few minutes, but I want to get to 2 or 3 more things. Secret Service lies to us again. Why? I don't know. Secret Service said that a white man snatched Kristi Noem's bag. Well, it turns out it was a criminal alien from Chile, I don't know why why do they keep getting it wrong? This is literal disinformation. We now have a perpetrator. The masked migrant who was arrested for stealing Homeland Security Kristi Noem's Gucci bag containing $3,000 in cash is a Chilean national who's previously busted for pickpocketing schemes in London. His name's Mario Lavia. He's of Santiago, Chile. He was arrested in Washington, D.C. He made off with the luxury shoulder bag. That could have been a massive crisis for Kristi Noem. I'm going to need the guy's mugshot, please. This is what was inside the bag. They had her ID, her driver's license, her checkbook, her medication, her Homeland Security ID. So let's say this was not like just a snatch and grab operation. Let's say this was something sophisticated. This person could have, I don't know, replaced her prescription pills with something nefarious. This person could have grabbed her ID and potentially had access to all of DHS, which is the #1 federal police force, meaning Kristi Noem has so many ongoing operations happening right now underneath her because she's in charge of ICE and Border Patrol, FEMA, TSA, Homeland Security Police. Anyway, the Secret Service immediately told every news outlet that it was just a white guy that grabbed her bag. It was actually a criminal alien. And that's like more disinformation at the very least, say potentially Hispanic. I mean, why wouldn't you want people to find the guy? Doesn't make any sense. But of course, these are the people that told us that the sloped roofs in Butler are why we couldn't station agents on there to protect Donald Trump. Remember that? The roofs, they were sloped and we were worried about the security of our agents. I don't trust them. I don't trust the Secret Service. Man, I don't trust them. I know that they're trying to make a lot of big changes and we're going to be patient with that, but I don't trust them. And here we go again, right? Disinformation. Anyway, the greater question here is not that, but is this. How did some doofus like this, some slob, some criminal alien slob get within striking distance of Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem is one of the most protected people in America. She's one of the most high-profile positions in America. Again, she's in charge of all of this federal law enforcement. She has the highest possible Secret Service protection. And this guy was able to come within snatching distance of her bag. Hold up. Wait, what? Do you know any woman that would leave her purse with so many valuable items, in the middle of the street? No, this purse was very close to Kristi Noem. I don't know exactly where it was in relation to her. This was on Easter Sunday. But this purse was close to her. So this doofus, this slob, is able to just wobble over and grab it and nobody's watching her back. I think that's crazy, man. And I think that again speaks to you need some real reforms at these agencies. So can you pickpocket Trump when he's under Secret Service protection? Can you just go go take his wallet, go take his phone, start tweeting? Some people on our staff would certainly be very interested in getting access to Trump's Twitter account. But that can't happen, hopefully. But listen, you need reforms. This shouldn't be able to happen. I can't get it out of my head that if something was more nefarious happening here, if this was a sophisticated state actor, that they could have done real damage, right? They could have really, they could have really pulled something very bad off. The reason why is that there's of course so many people that would like to see something bad happen to Kristi Noem. We're fans of Kristi Noem. We've traveled with Kristi Noem. The reason why we know this is that we've seen it happen ourselves. We've been inside the bubble, as they say, with agents at our front and back as we traveled with Kristi Noem in a 10-car motorcade through Manhattan. Nearly 800 illegal immigrants, illegal criminal aliens, thank you. Sorry, they're not immigrants. Yeah, including convicted killer and suspected terrorist arrested in massive ICE raid in Florida. I freaking love this state. This is why Kristi Noem needs to be protected. And all the cartels and all the human smugglers, look at what's happening to them. Nearly 800 illegal immigrants, including violent fugitive gangbangers, were rounded up in a massive first-ever sweep by Florida cops working with federal immigration agents, authorities said. Operation Tidal Wave is a joint effort between the feds and local police in the Sunshine State. Needed just 4 days to lock up some of the country's most wanted criminal aliens. U.S. Immigration and Customs Force said on X. In the first of its kind partnership between state and federal law enforcement, ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement arrested 800 criminal aliens this week. First 4 days of Operation Tidal Wave, a massive multi-agency immigration enforcement crackdown, the agency said on Saturday. Fantastic. Among those rounded up were members of the vicious MS-13 gang. No word yet on how quickly you'll have Florida Democrats having margaritas with them in jail. I don't know. The speaker of the Florida Democrats, the leader of the Florida Democrats, changed parties this weekend. It's crazy. He's like, I'm out, and he gave this blistering reason as to why he's leaving the Democrat Party, saying the Democrat Party is totally dead and doesn't represent the people of Florida. So here we go. This is obviously very good, but it's a massive mess that we're going to have to clean up. Feds bust 114 illegal aliens during a Colorado underground nightclub raid that was being protected by members of the American military, which is crazy. Over 100 illegals were busted during a raid at an underground nightclub in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The operation was led by the DEA and Rocky Mountain Division. They got nabbed up. But yeah, in the press conference afterwards, the police said there were uniformed members of the armed services that were protecting this illegal criminal alien nightclub for gangbangers, which is absolutely crazy. Speaking of gangbangers, Joe Biden. Whatever, that was a weird segue. Yeah, that was weird. Joe Biden nearly fell directly on his face at the Vatican. If we can grab that video, we just got to pop it up. It was a very scary moment. Joe Biden needed to cringe and grab the arms of Jill Biden and of a elderly priest who was walking with him down the stairs. Joe Biden seated in absolute obscurity here at the Pope's funeral. I hate to make this a political thing, but Joe Biden made it a political thing by shoving himself in there. You'll see here that Joe Biden is seated 10 rows behind Donald Trump, and nobody is around him because being seen with Joe Biden is the political kiss of death. Speaking of the kiss of death, you can see that Joe Biden is seated behind the guy there in the white turban. He is the, who is that guy? Is he very important? Is he a head of state? He is the Iranian Minister of Culture and Sports. That's who that guy is. So that's how important the Vatican thinks Joe Biden is. Joe Biden is sitting behind the Iranian Minister of Sports and Culture. Total humiliation, but also a lot of fake news here. They went after President Trump for wearing a blue suit. Turns out that a lot of people were wearing a blue suit. You can see plenty of blue suits here. Joe Biden was wearing a blue tie. They lost their minds on this. Here you can see, dozens of blue suits. It was complete fake news. This was the outrage cycle. Zelensky wore a tracksuit. He also met with Trump in a little sit-down meeting, and Donald Trump says that peace will now come. This looks like a very, very different Zelensky, a very humbled Zelensky. Hopefully that happens. The statement of this show is peace, peace, peace in our time, please. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe Biden tripping, and then we are set with Tom Fitton, who always be tripping, bro. Look at this. Joe Biden wobbly, needing to grab hands as he goes down the stairs. They wanted this. Look at the desperation, and how he tries to play it off as like, no, I'm not about to poop my pants. That was the word. MTG came on the show and said that Joe Biden, she has credible sources that tell her that Joe Biden crapped his pants at the Vatican. I think the Vatican was punishing Joe Biden for being so creepy with the Pope that one time. Just one final thing before Tom gets up, and I don't know. Oh yeah, and he farted in front of the Queen. Yeah, that was Camilla saying that. A very weird news cycle. One more thing was, give me that photo of him like doing the really weird head thing with the Pope. Dude, it's so creepy. Like Joe Biden, like it's a freaking crypt keeper, like coming in trying to steal the Pope's life force. Everyone went after J.D. Vance. Like, oh wow, J.D. Vance is the Grim Reaper. Nobody had anything to say about this moment? Horrifying. Look at what this guy's doing to him. The Pope's in a wheelchair. Stay the hell away. Javier Milei here, like looking at this, like cringing. Javier Milei is like, what the hell is happening? Joe Biden, like absolutely diseased, syphilitic, looking like a leftover prop, looking like an almost like too scary prop for the Haunted Mansion, Disneyland. Look at Javier Milei, president of Argentina, like what is he doing? So creepy. Sniffing the Pope. Like, he's really like letting in and sniffing the Pope. Bro. Maybe that's why Joe Biden was seated way in the back. That and many other reasons, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden, you've never met a president who claims to be Catholic that has passed more laws or endorsed more laws that are totally and completely antithetical to the church's teaching, to what he's supposed to believe. It's a super weird vibe, man. And this is Trump's only the second president to ever attend a Pope's funeral. Like, why Joe Biden felt the need to like shove himself in there, I don't know, but I'm glad he's getting roasted. Somebody who is regularly roasted every regime and is actually applying a little bit of pressure to the Trump administration, something that we talk about often, that it is important to have good trouble and good pressure on an administration, even that you support, is the great Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, who joins us right now. Tom, I don't know. Are you a Catholic? I don't know that. Are you?
I am Catholic.
Okay.
My old joke with Pope Francis was I was more Catholic than the Pope.
I was not raised in the Catholic tradition. I have a lot of love for the early Christian church, the iconography of it, a lot of deep respect. But as somebody who's not a practicing Catholic, I just wanted to like get your take, perhaps, off the top here on the Pope's funeral, President Trump using it as almost like a world leaders summit, which I think is incredible, bringing peace maybe in Ukraine, using the Pope's funeral to do that, which is awesome, and then Joe Biden's weird obscurity there.
You know, fundamentally, non-Catholics may not remember this or realize this. The Pope is a priest. And so this is a mass in celebration of a priest and his life. And I didn't agree with him on a lot of things. I think he confused the faithful, which is terrible. But obviously had the respect of many in the world. And to have his funeral result in peace efforts, that speaks well of, divine intervention and those who recognize the moment and trying to take advantage of it, meaning Zelensky and President Trump.
Yes. Was this like an unnecessary L for Joe Biden? Again, if we could just pop up, Joe Biden did nearly fall. I think they had to make up some hoax about Donald Trump's blue suit when about a quarter of the people there were wearing blue suits to cover up for this, because this was just embarrassing, man.
Joe's an unpleasant guy, and he's not going to be cowed. And anyone who thinks that because of his evident cognitive disability, he should be given a free pass, this is another indication he doesn't care what you all think. He's going to do what he wants to do because he thinks he's untouchable. And I think he should still be prosecuted by the Trump administration for his at least mishandling of the documents that he stole from the Senate. He got a free pass there from the the Biden regime, and all those pardons and all of them are, in my view, null and void. I call them the empty set pardons, and the prosecution should proceed as if they're invalid.
Wow. And make them challenge that at where? Like the Supreme Court? I mean, I guess you'd have to find a...
use it as a defense. In researching the issue, it looks like a pardon could only really come into effect when the verdict is read, meaning you can be found guilty, but there would be no punishment.
So, yeah, why not challenge it? Why not push that? Why not just drop a prosecution on Dr. Fauci, right?
Yeah.
Or Joe Biden.
Or Adam Schiff or Milley or Fauci. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Milley, that's exactly right. Dude, you told the Chinese what we were going to do during a moment with heightened military security. You were literally ratting out the American military to the Chinese. You're a traitor, dude. You're going to go to Gitmo.
Joe didn't tell us what the pardons were for, so how can we not proceed?
That's such a great point. Wow. We're going to start pushing that, Tom. Thank you for that. Maybe, Tom, you can help us out with this one. They're locking up people for harboring criminal aliens. Why not charge Joe with harboring 11 million criminal aliens? I mean, didn't he do that?
It depends on the analysis of his job as president. Was it part of his duties and responsibilities or the failures? Probably not. Certainly, Mayorkas can be charged, in my view, or should be investigated. Everyone who helped Biden allow this invasion of the United States, I think, should be seriously investigated for their roles in undermining and really contravening the rule of law.
It does make a lot. It does kind of, when you realize how deep and how dark this entire rabbit hole is. We put up the photos of all the judges in handcuffs here, please. I mean, I'm glad to be able to put up some photos of powerful Democrats in handcuffs. I'm sure this was a relief to you as well, Tom. Wanted to get your take on this. Pretty wild when you listen to the stories here. They were treating these criminal aliens and gangbangers like their own children. They were doing everything they could to like have them live with them, have them use their own judges' quarters, human smuggle them out of the courthouse. It's insane when you hear what these judges did.
Yeah, that Wisconsin judge is really something else. And what she did was so contrary to judicial ethics. Read about the rule of law. It's just as a judge. You know, I'm a commissioner on a judicial ethics commission here in Washington, D.C. The president appointed me. And I'm aghast at what happened there. And the Wisconsin state authorities need to take a look at what she did there. And not only did she place the federal law enforcement at risk, but remember, he is a violent person. He was alleged to have engaged in essentially murderous conduct. He nearly killed 2 people, according to what he was charged with, and nearly beat them to death. And this woman helps him evade capture from federal authorities?
It defies explanation other than you should be serving long prison sentences because this is what happens when you do that, right?
And the governor of Wisconsin, all of these politicians of the left, all endorse this lawlessness. Whose side are they on? They're not on the side of Americans. They're not on the side of the rule of law. And you have another judge in Wisconsin talking about keeping people in jail so they won't be deported. People have lost their minds with this anti-Trump animus. And if it means the country collapses, they don't care. And if it means people get harmed and hurt and killed, they seemingly don't care either.
It does bend itself, and I know Stephen Miller's talked a lot about this, and there's been a lot of viral posts on this, but it really does set the table pretty crisp and clear, Tom. We don't have a country, right? If one administration can bring in 20 million criminal aliens to the country, and the next administration can do nothing about it, then your country's over. It's cooked. I'm not a doomer, but I am somebody who says, well, that's not going to work. Unless there's mass deportations, the country's over.
And they really need to get to the mass deportations. I think my impression is the Trump administration's operating at capacity, but the judges are getting in the way. Local state authorities are getting in the way. And when you think about the numbers, let's say it's 10 million. I remember doing the calculation, so forgive me if it's off since then, but 5,000 or 6,000 people a day need to be deported just to remove the Biden invaders alone. And if those folks are not deported, the country is changed politically necessarily because they get counted unless the law changes or President Trump changes the counting. They get counted for purposes of the census, and it means that blue states benefit, get to keep and increase power in Congress and get more votes in the Electoral College system. And so this is why the left is desperate. It's not even about them voting. Their mere presence increases the political power of the left.
And I don't think the Trump administration is anywhere near those numbers.
No, and they need the help of Congress to get near those numbers. The 800 over 4 days in Florida, that was a massive operation. They're going to have to deploy the military, I think, more fulsomely here in the interior to get these folks rounded up and removed as the law requires. And we're going to have to figure out a way to have local law enforcement provide more support so this can get done. But in the meantime, it's going to be, if the left gets their way, decades, because they want each of these people to go through a court process that's the equivalent of the O.J. Simpson trial every time the President Trump wants to deport someone.
So they're deploying this operation. This is like the new Russiagate. So they had a ace in the hole, right? They had a black card in the pocket if President Trump won the first time, and that was the Steele dossier and Russiagate. And this seems to be their ace in the hole. This seems to be like what the plan was, we're just going to prevent Trump from engaging in the executive powers altogether. It's not just this. It's pretty much every executive order is now being stopped by a judge. You can't have a president, right? I mean, there is no president if a judge can just do that to every single breath Trump takes.
And that was their view when he was president the first time around. He can't fire FBI directors. He can't engage in foreign policy. He can't do the things that presidents typically are able to do. And the great thing about the new Trump administration is he's doing so much more than he tried to do the first time around. So the positive is he's doing so much more. The negative is the courts are interfering so much more in what I believe to be a coup against the Constitution, where judges are inserting themselves and taking power the Constitution doesn't allow them to have.
So inserting yourself into a controversial issue here, Tom, is Judicial Watch's suing of, I think, the Trump administration, or at least like the FOIA request for all of Epstein's documents. We have the posts up here. And this is something that is
what's controversial about that?
It's speaking our love language. I was just about to say this is speaking our love language. Like you have to sometimes you have to motivate your friends to do the right thing. Judicial
so there was this issue of the documents getting released in February and some controversy around that, and both the Attorney General and Cash Bondi, right? I'm completing the two. Cash Bondi. So the team highlighted how the FBI or someone up in New York in whatever office interfered with that document release. Yeah. So we wanted documents about what happened there, and plus we want all the Epstein records. And we've been getting the hand to the face. No response, and we do what we do. We sue for the records. And let me put it this way: the best way to release records of a controversial nature, in my view, is through FOIA. Because it allows the people to see what documents are being withheld and why. You know what the redactions are about. If court process in place, there's accountability as to the timeliness of what's going to be released, if it's going to be released at all. Who did the searching? Where did they look? What other documents are out there? All of those questions should be asked and answered with these document releases, and that's what we aim to do with Epstein. And I don't want to just get the files of of those who were involved with him. I also want to know how he died, the circumstances of that, the cover up of it, all sorts of things going back. And I'm hoping we start getting some answers, and we get a process going that reassures the American people that the truth and accountability is being taken seriously.
So you're not getting anything yet?
No, I don't think we've gotten a document yet. I mean, we sued 2 weeks ago, and we asked back in February. We still haven't gotten anything. So, now, on the other hand, the Justice Department is releasing some other documents, which are good. But, if I were advising Pam Bondi, and I'm not, because I'm not in the Justice Department, I would have her team hyper-focus on FOIA and transparency, so that there's a process in place that she doesn't have to get personally involved in to ensure that document requests about the current crisis, right? Whether it be the lawfare against Trump, the Epstein, you name it, Fauci, whatever the issues, the Biden gang, that is just handled forthwith and released as quickly as possible.
I know I'm going to ask you to speculate here, Tom, but you've been doing this business for a very long time. You're famous for for Bill Clinton's taking a UV light to Bill Clinton's sock drawer. Very dangerous work you've done in your time, and so you know the sleaze bags better than most. Why does it take so long with these Epstein documents? Like your thoughts on what the actual op was there. What's the holdup?
Well, first, there might be a lot. There's always a process that they tell the politicals they have to go through in order to release the documents. And there's always excuses and reasons to withhold information. I tell you what's not holding it up: prosecutions. That's not interfering with this process. It's easy for them to tell us we can't confirm or deny their documents, or to release certain documents that are going to interfere with potential or ongoing criminal investigations. That's not at issue here. What it is at issue here is the inability of government to follow FOIA law, and I think hopefully our lawsuit will get the leadership of the Justice Department and the FBI to focus on it. I mean, the day we filed the lawsuit, someone for the Justice Department, one of their FOIA officials, sent us a letter saying, "Oh, by the way, the Attorney General's office has no records about the request you asked." But we asked for records about her communications about this whole issue. And, there's got to be records. So I don't know what's happening over there, but it's a challenge. I understand it's a challenge. But they got to turn the documents over. The public are interested in it. I can't help it. The public wants to know this info.
Tom, you've been on the show so many times. The viewers love you. They know you like spit real fire. This ain't going away. Like, you're a realist, okay? Like, this isn't going away. Virginia Roberts died by suicide this weekend.
That's
Got
right.
it. She's of course somebody who witnessed Clinton, the royal family. She got huge payouts. She was so real that they were paying her tens of millions of dollars from the royal treasury in England because of what happened with her and Prince Andrew. And she just after being hit by a bus in the middle of nowhere, Australia, she then dies by suicide. Man, like, this is the kind of stuff that makes people go, what is happening here?
No, we filed a lawsuit. She dies by suicide. And because people are concerned that documents are being withheld, people think there's a connection between the two. And I don't necessarily believe there is, but it highlights the urgency of getting these documents released. When you don't release information and hide information, especially contrary to law, I mean, we're suing because the Justice Department wasn't following FOIA law. People can draw their own conclusions about why those records are being withheld. We all went through the reasons, right? And I told you why, maybe, but I don't know that for sure. It could be corruption. It could be someone in the Justice Department, a deep stater, is stopping it all from coming out by making up fake reasons for withholding it. It could be that they don't want to release it for other reasons that are political. I don't know. But all I know is there's a process in place, and they're going to have to follow it because the court's going to ask them what's happening eventually.
Tom, just very briefly here, we have San Antar coming on right after you. He's the investigator behind Letitia James and all of the crisis that she's under right now. I'm sure that you've looked at it all. Just wanted to get quickly your take on Letitia. Is she boiling in hot water here, man?
She says she has documents that contradict the analysis of the federal agency that referred her for criminal prosecution. Well, she should tell that to the judge and to a jury. But in my view, this is the beginning, ought to be the beginning of serious criminal investigations into the abusers of Trump. And that's something, again, I will encourage the Trump administration, the Justice Department, to spend more time and energy on, which is to focus on those people who tried to destroy our country, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, but last year, by trying to jail Trump and other innocent Americans. And the American people want them held accountable to the full extent of the law. And I'm not seeing any indication there's a serious criminal investigation going on into that mega scandal.
Yeah, I mean, great. The JFK stuff, all that evidence is gone. All those people are dead. Like, let's go after some crimes that we all witnessed, like just a couple of months ago. Everything from the Trump assassination to the people trying to put Trump in prison. The assassination of Trump in many different ways. Let's go after those people, please. Yeah. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch is the man who actually does it, right? A lot of people come on here and yap. Tom actually puts action behind it. That's why you got to follow Tom, man. He's got 3.1 million subscribers here on X. Get on in there. Tom is one of the absolute brawlers in Washington, D.C. My producer, my in-studio producer here, his name's Klein. He does jujitsu. He says he thinks you could scrap. He thinks he was looking through the profiles, like, all right,
all right. As long as he stays away from my face.
Yeah, don't know if you spar or not, Tom. Nobody knows. Do you? I'm not sure.
Oh man,
you spar? You grapple,
not
Tom?
with all those young guys. No way.
Okay. UFC fan, Tom? I don't know. Everybody follow Tom.
Oh all man.
Right? Okay. Thank you, Tom. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand, joining the program, Sam Antar with new bombshell revelations about what Letitia James is up to. Big Tish in the Big Slammer. Let's go. Sam, I messed that up, dude. I did. I messed it up. It should have been Big Tish in the Big House. All right? What was I thinking?
Well, you're not a pro like me on television.
Just right. You had a great Newsmax hit, Sam, and obviously the audience loved you, and you were very, very thorough, and you were able to break this down in ways that we could understand. There's been some new revelations, and Tom Fitton was just on saying Big Tish in trouble. Talk us through what's happening now in this case.
Okay, there's a few things going on. Can we recap the case before we move forward? Okay. There's several aspects of this case. First of all, there's a property located at 296 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn. She has continuously represented it as being a 4-unit building when it's actually 5 units. In other words, the certificate of occupancy says there's 5 units. The electrical service says there's 5 units. And I went there with a friend of mine, Joel Gilbert, another researcher, and we saw 5 doorbells. Okay. Now she can say, well, one person occupies 2 apartments. That doesn't make it 4 units. It's still 5 units. The ruling document is the certificate of occupancy. And she's trying to get around that, but she can't. Now, the reason why the jump from 4 to 5 is so important is because the underwriting standards on a 5+ unit building is much more stringent when it comes to mortgages. In other words, she'd have to pay more for her mortgages. So each one of these false documents that she signed were for her personal financial benefit. And this is a pattern that's been going on for 20 years concerning this building, 40 years concerning another building that she owned. Also, in addition to that, there's insurance fraud. Insurance underwrites buildings with 4 units less stringently than they underwrite buildings with 5 units. The reason being is that buildings with 5 units are considered commercial buildings. Now, that is part 1. Part 2 is various mortgages on this building don't appear in her financial disclosures and then appear and then unappear. Also, there are mortgages that do appear on her financial disclosures to New York State, but don't appear in the property records. So there's another major inconsistency going on as it relates to her filings with New York State, her financial disclosures. That is 296 Lafayette Avenue. She has another building at 3121 Peroni Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia. She purchased that building in 2020. When I first started out looking into her financial disclosures, I noticed that building that she purchased in 2020, all of a sudden she discloses 2 mortgages in 2023. She has consistently said that the building is worth between $100,000 to $150,000. The property tax assessment is about $180,000. You go to Zillow and all of those other things, it's about $180,000, $190,000. When she took on those 2 mortgages, they totaled $250,000 to $400,000 according to their disclosures. Big red flag. You're taking on 2 mortgages, right, that are about 1.5 to 2 times more than the value of the property. So I dug deeper, and then I found that there was another mortgage she had on the property. Altogether, she had 3 mortgages on the property, totaling $510,000, as much as $510,000 on a property she values at most $150,000, or you go to Zillow at most $200,000. So that's a problem. Now, the interesting thing about that property is the 2 mortgages she disclosed in the financial disclosures to New York State don't appear in any of the property records. When you go to the property records, you find this mortgage that she took when she purchased the property that appears in the property records, but doesn't appear in her financial disclosures. So explain that. Then you have a third property, 604 Sterling Street in Norfolk, West Virginia. That property she purchased with her niece or relative, whatever she wants to say it is. Okay. Now, in that property, she signed a power of attorney saying that she intended to make it her primary residence. Now, this was right before the Trump trial, and according to the mortgage documents, both parties, her and her relative that bought the property, had to make it into their primary residence. Not one, both. Now, did she really intend to move to Virginia a month before the Trump trial and during the Trump trial? Of course not. Now, when the mortgage documents were filed, it was underwritten as if both parties were going to occupy the property. And this power of attorney that she attested to, she swore to, which was witnessed by somebody when they were in her own offices, Jennifer Levy, I think her name is, within her own office, that was filed with the mortgage. Now, then comes the referral from the Justice Department to the Justice Department, and then the rebuttal from the sleazebag Abby Lowell. He says, well, there are documents that we're going to show you. We have documents that show that she didn't intend to make a primary residence. And he points to an exhibit. And she writes an email before she signs the power of attorney saying that she didn't intend to make it her primary residence. And it's an email to a broker. So the emails before she signs that she intends to make it a primary residence. So automatically, the latter document, the sworn specific power of attorney, cancels out whatever she said earlier. Then he says there's another document afterwards where she also asserts it's not going to be a primary residence, but he doesn't produce it in the exhibits. Now, even if, let's for the sake of argument say he made a mistake. He didn't produce that extra document in the exhibits. Fine. Okay. At the end of the day, no matter what she said in the emails, that mortgage was underwritten on the basis that she and her relative, both owning the property's joint tenants, were going to occupy that property within 60 days as their primary residence. Case closed. Case closed. In other words, this is fraud in the inducement. Now you can ask me anything you want.
Okay. So here we go, Sam. that was really thorough. Okay. So what happens next? I mean, we haven't heard anything from the Justice Department here.
You're not going to hear that. People go. I get these snarty comments on social media. Well, where's the indictment? Where's the indictment? Okay. Let me give you from my personal experience. In the Crazy Eddie case, the feds started investigating us in 1987 in January. Do you know when the first indictment came? 1993. Now, I don't think it's going to be that slow. But people think that it's like a 2-hour movie. You start in the beginning investigation, and by the end, the criminal ends up in jail. It's going to take them a while to accumulate. What they're going to do, based upon my experience, I'm working on both sides of the law, is that they are going to subpoena all of the banks, all of the mortgage brokers, right? All of the title companies. They're going to interview them. They're going to take notes. They're going to probably, do depositions if necessary, and they're going to get to the bottom of it. But at the same token, the documents speak for themselves. Every single financial disclosure to New York State as far back as 2019 contains false information with her signature on it. Every single mortgage on her property in Brooklyn from when she purchased it contains false information. The Virginia property, which she claims like the power of attorney that she signed was a mistake, whatever, implicates her. Okay. The situation that she has is she put pen to paper. I didn't. Donald Trump didn't. MAGA didn't do it. You didn't do it. She owns this fraud. She did it. Now, people are saying, well, Antar's a convicted felon. You can't trust him like it's a big secret. Nobody knows I'm a convicted felon. I could have burned down a building yesterday. Okay, I could have done arson yesterday. That still doesn't change the fact that Letitia James, over a period of at least 20 years, no, actually 40 years, okay, including other properties, has a pattern of signing documents that contain false disclosures that accrue to her financial benefit. End of story. Call me anything you want, picture, whatever. I don't care. This is her problem.
So it does seem like this is a spiraling problem. There was a video that went viral last week of a reporter for the Daily Caller wandering up to these homes in Virginia, drove out there, and not too happy, the residents of these homes. They were enraged, actually. They were yelling and screaming, and they definitely were not Letitia James. You can hear them on the tape here. We'll just play like a couple of seconds of it.
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Goodbye. You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids are out here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
Don't
because
worry
there's
about whose occupants. That's none of your business.
well
okay, Sam.
There are connections. We mean no trouble. We're just.
I'm not sure. Audio off, please. Thank you. Mute it. I'm not sure. You're not trespassing by standing on a sidewalk. We do this all the time, actually.
And by the way, myself and Joel Gilbert, another researcher who's done very, very good work in this case also, visited her residence in Brooklyn, that's Virginia, on Sunday, took video, and it's going to be out he's going to have it out by tomorrow or today. We went to the property. We examined in other words, we went to the scene of the crime, actually, and we examined the property, and that's where we found 5 doorbells for 5 units. In addition, I've examined Con Edison documents that show 5 electrical services for 5 units, and of course, you have the certificate of occupancy. The evidence speaks for itself. When she's trying to say, well, it was always 4, listen, the governing document, as any realist, any competent lawyer is going to tell you, is a certificate of occupancy. And she wants to say, well, it's an accident, it's a mistake. Oh, okay, give back all the money you saved from the mortgage companies. Okay, because of the false underwriting that you took out. You're in default on every single one of those, every single outstanding mortgage today, she's in default on because it contains material omissions.
Just really quickly here, Sam, how cooked is Letitia James? Should we expect the handcuffs that we've seen on various high-ranking Democrat officials across the country happening last week? Should we expect that? I mean, will we actually get the handcuffed moment here, Letitia James?
I don't know what will happen. I can't predict the future. Yeah. But all I can say is whether or not they handcuff her, she's guilty. The evidence shows that she's guilty. Most likely they are going to handcuff her, and most likely they are going to arrest her, and most likely they are going to indict her. But irrespective of that, the documentation speaks for itself. And if they can't bring a case against them, shame on them. They suffer the humiliation. I stand behind all of the research that I've done, and all of the research that I've done shows that she's guilty of mortgage fraud, violating New York State financial disclosure statutes, mail fraud, wire fraud, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a lawyer, but she is guilty. She is guilty of signing documents that contain false information that she financially benefited from, and she can't get out of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want actual truth on this, and from somebody who really understands this issue, and we're not exactly sure why Sam is so obsessed with this, but it's fascinating, and he is rock solid here, and I hope they call him as a witness, quite frankly. You got to go follow Sam. He's just the best on this. He's gone completely viral, and he's got the receipts. 57,000 Americans already follow Sam Antar, and you should be one of them. Thank you, Sam, for fighting for this. This is just great. You're golden. You're golden,
Thank
man.
You. One day I hope to be as popular as you are. I'm only kidding.
We hope to be as good at investigating corrupt Democrat officials.
Let me just say this quick thing, okay? Please. I didn't target Letitia James.
Yeah.
I didn't look for her. I didn't go after her because her tit for tat with Donald Trump, which I really don't give a shit. The reason that I went and examined Letitia James is for quite a while, I've been examining financial disclosures of New York State and New York City politicians. I ventured upon her, and that's when the big red flags, showed up. This was not something I looked for specifically. This was part of an ongoing process that I involved myself in. I've been doing this for 30 years after Crazy Eddie's, after I pleaded guilty in the Crazy Eddie case. I've worked for government agencies from the FBI, IRS, DOJ, you name them. I pretty much worked for all of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Antar, please come back as soon as there's any updates here. We very much look forward to it.
Anytime you'd like. Your pleasure. God bless.
We've got an itch on for more handcuffs. So thank you, Sam. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you. Godspeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you had a weekend like mine, you are certainly itching for some caffeine this morning. That was me. And it was a rowdy weekend. A lot of family and guests in town and so on and so forth. And man, it's just a lot happening right now. It's fun and it's exciting. I'll be so bored, I think, right? When all my kids are up and out of the house or like a little bit older. You'll be so bored when eventually there won't be a Trump presidency, although Donald Trump's saying he might run for a third term this weekend again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about that, by the way, with our next guest, Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports. But first, caffeine is what we need in the mornings. It fills our cup. It's right here. Blackout Coffee, as you know, has been our longtime partner on this program for our caffeine needs. That's not only because they have just excellent coffee, which is, I think, the most important thing, but also it's coffee that supports your worldview, that supports the hard work and grit in America. It's damn good coffee. It's made right here in this country. 30 hardworking Americans ship this sucker right from Florida, 64,000 square foot facility that they pack themselves. This is a family business. These are people that care about your country. And if you drink coffee like me, well, this is just a staple that you must have in your home, and it's something that you're going to be using, and so you might as well be supporting those who support you. Also, well, that first cup of coffee is the most important thing that I drink during the day, period, right? You got to get going, especially after a long weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, go and get yourself some premium, small batch, roasted coffee made right here in America, the best coffee out there. And if you believe in hard work and American values, you should go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Stop settling and start drinking real coffee. Drink Blackout. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me right now to go completely blackout on some of the fake polls that are out there right now on Donald Trump is Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports. Let's go. Mark, what up, man? Always an honor. And Trump third term. Whoa. Okay, some people would say that's not going to happen because Trump's too unpopular. Look at all these polls. He says things are going horribly. And then I talk with everybody who's MAGA, and we check the chat on this show, for instance, and people don't think things are going horribly. People love what's happening. Your polling is out proving that anecdotal contention to be correct, but I'd love for you to dive a little more into it. The table is yours.
Well, I've been saying this for weeks now, right direction. That's the number to watch, not Trump approval. But I wake up every day and there's another PSYOP. And today the PSYOP is for Donald Trump's 100-day, anniversary of his inauguration. They're trying to, paint the narrative that he's unpopular. And, he's doing fine. This is what people voted for. We asked Americans, is this what you voted for? We literally used those, that phrase exactly. 80% of Trump voters agree with that. And so right direction right now, 42%, still above 40, really high. And today marks 13 consecutive weeks of right direction at 42% or higher. The biggest record before has been 7 weeks in a row in all of our 20 years of polling. And so people are looking at this and saying, I expected a little bit of chaos. Trump's chaotic, but I'm happy with the direction that things are going like happier. Like this is top, 95 percentile happiness with the direction of the country right now. And so they're trying every trick in the book again. If you look at Real Clear Politics, all of the mainstream media, like network, cable, TV, news, pollster types, they just dropped turds this morning. Like their first double-digit underwater Trump approval is almost like they coordinated it. And it was just to drive headlines that he's unpopular.
So, is it just like going right back to 2024? Is it going right back to 2020? Is it just like you just got to like start the machine all over again and produce fake polling results?
It feels like August and September. Like it feels exactly what happened. It's like, oh, we got a new entrant into the race, Kamala Harris. Let's see how the polling's going to do. And my numbers, it tightened a little bit, went from, Trump +5 down to about Trump +2. And my numbers stopped there and everybody else just kept going. And so that's exactly what's happening here. If you look at, we had Trump underwater at 5 points. We had him above water last week. It's going to fluctuate, I think, around, ±2. But everybody was with me. They were with me 2 or 3 months ago saying that Donald Trump came in the low to mid 50s, and this is exactly what they're doing. My numbers stopped, and theirs are going to keep on going left. And of course, the mainstream media on top of that is going to be this information gatekeeping layer. If you look at, like, for instance, Quinnipiac, was the last one they had was -12. A month ago, Quinnipiac was -12 then, and guess what? That was the headline. They used Quinnipiac. Well, their numbers haven't moved, and so now it's they're going to use Reuters. They're going to use ABC Washington to put -13, -12, -14. You got them up there. Those are all new. They all dropped over the weekend. I joked about it on Twitter. I wonder if they're like slapping each other on the butts and saying good game after this coordinated like dump of polling. I think that's probably what it is. And what's really wild to me, if you have it available, is the Google search trends of Trump approval.
Yeah, we got it. You already got it, Klein. You already got it loaded.
This is one of the most stunning things that tells me a PSYOP is happening. Because when those this is organic search volume of Trump approval. And it's like, oh, wow, it's spiking. If you look at the numbers, it's second or third highest month in all of Google's search history, going all the way back to 2004. But look at Obama. Look at Biden. Look at Bush. Nobody cared about their approval. There's something very specific about Trump, and there's something very specific about right now where it's like, well, we know cynically they don't have really much political power. And so all they have is their mouthpieces just drone away trying to undermine the anti-establishment candidate.
This is remarkable. So the green is Bush, the yellow is Obama, the blue is Trump term 1, and the red is Biden. That just falls right off a cliff after Afghanistan. Would you look at that? That's remarkable. So right after Afghanistan, it's like they shut down all polling into Joe Biden because it was so atrocious. This is very interesting.
Well, I think what happened is like there was this binary gut check decision where everybody in America was like, oh, like Joe Biden sucks. So they don't really need to like Google it anymore. But, I think also probably the media wasn't driving traffic, trying to convince people that he was popular. They just sort of gave it up. But just look at the overall value, though. I mean, when he was sworn into office, it really no point were people more interested in Biden approval than they were in Trump approval during Trump 1. It really never got there. And so all of a sudden Trump gets into office. All of a sudden, all the levers of power are threatened again, and everybody's searching for Trump approval. And it's because they're seeing scummy headlines and they're trying to like check the mainstream media information that's getting pushed down their throats.
And then it's just a self-licking ice cream cone because they publish a fake poll with really bad disapproval numbers. Yet there's no Trump supporter that I know that disapproves of what's going on. There are some people that have frictions with this or that, but it's not like he's lost his base, right?
Yeah, well, I think what you're seeing is a lot of these are shady methodologies. They're using online panels. There's massive response biases. And in reality, I don't think people change their minds very rapidly, especially not based on the media. I think Biden changed a lot of people's minds over his 4 years and turned them into Trump supporters. But what happens is if you look at some of these bad pollsters, they were running 33% approval ratings for Joe Biden. And the truth is it never really got that low. We're the only ones that poll approval every day, day in and day out. Lowest we ever saw him get was 37, but most of the time he was like between 40 and 43. And that's what you'd expect for a country that 49% almost went for Kamala Harris. Yeah. And so the fact is that everybody was running around cheering 2 or 3 years ago when Quinnipiac drops a 33% Biden approval rating. And now they're like revolted when they drop a Donald Trump 33% approval rating. Like, what do you think's going on there? But looking at internally into the polls, even the New York Times, like, it's also scummy. They've been missing in action for months. Like, I don't know what happened to Nate Cohn or why they haven't had budget, but they have not been polling. And so they come out of the gates with this first big poll, 900 registered voters. Only 730 actually completed the entire survey. Really small. And if you look at the subsample, their independents are like plus 17 Democrats. And they actually have, like, it was 16 or 17% of the poll didn't even vote in the fall. And so it's a really small sample. So just like not even looking at whether or not their thumb was on the scale, it's all like crap and noise. But what happens? It's dropped right before the 100 days, along with everybody else, almost like they coordinated. Because I could tell you, ABC News, CBS, like Fox News, Reuters, these numbers are the biggest like negative numbers they've put out. And so they waited right before 100 days.
So because we are here at the precipice of the 100 days and President Trump will be doing a big MAGA rally tomorrow, tell me the truth, Mark, something that you've done on this program before, and you are the most accurate pollster we've ever had on. Where is President Trump? Like, how's he tracking? He's tracking sort of in line with like a Barack Obama. Is this correct?
Yeah, like a couple caveats. We've got polling going all the way back to 2003 on approval rating daily. Only once. Still doing it daily. And the fact is, if you stack up all the presidents compared to each other, one president stands out. And it's not Donald Trump, it's Joe Biden. So we've overlaid the charts and smoothed out the variations. And what you had in 2008 and 2009 was a very unique time. I think that there was a lot of relief that the great financial crisis was being addressed in some way. I hesitate to say fixed. And people were happy that everybody came together and elected the first black president. And so the first couple of months of Obama term 1, he had a phenomenally high approval rating. But if you strip those 6 months out, Donald Trump won, and what looks like the first couple of months of Donald Trump too, like really track very closely with how Obama polled for all 8 years he was in office, really. I mean, he got a little bit of a bounce on his second inauguration, but they're neck and neck at 45% to 50% approval rating presidents, which is kind of what you'd expect for a relatively divided nation with information war going on 24/7 and basically gridlock Congress. Except Joe Biden, there you go. You put it up. He's that lighter blue line, and it's on the bottom. It's the low one. And I'll tell you, this is not what real clear politics looks like. If you went there, you'd see that Joe Biden's approval rating is on average 4 or 5 points higher than Trump's. Not in ours. We have Joe Biden lower for most of the time. You can see early in Trump's first term, it got down to the high 30s as well. That's when they were doing all that fake Russiagate collusion hoax stuff. And then Biden's got really low also, and it's the FJB and Afghanistan sort of period. And Biden never really recovered, but Trump did because the economy was picking up. People were super happy. I mentioned that we had a previous record of consecutive weeks of right direction above 42%. When that happened is Trump's first inauguration, the summer of 2018, and also people were really happy sort of the winter and spring of 2020 until the bioweapon was released on everybody.
That is a fascinating. Put it back up, please. That is just absolutely fascinating to see how it tracks and how just in the dumps Joe Biden was. I was credibly informed that he was the most popular president in history. Wow.
No, certainly not. Although he did get the highest turnout in recent recorded presidential history. Really, really strange.
It's just the rapture, you see, Mark. We missed it. 20 million Americans just disappeared out of the polling booths. Yeah, and it's a little religious thing called the rapture of Democrat voters.
Yeah.
Okay. So
never mind that 28% of Americans admitted out of their own mouths that they committed at least one form of mail-in ballot fraud. But whatever.
Yeah, but whatever. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, well, get through the first deportation rounds, mass deportation rounds, and then start investigating that. Okay, so then this is a very interesting trend line for President Trump. So President Trump rides in on a high, then gets destroyed by the corporate media and propaganda machines, and then claws his way back with achievements. Do you see that same trajectory happening this term?
No, I don't even think he's going to go below 45. Like maybe for a little bit here and there. That's the thing. It's like, what are they going to come up with that is going to fundamentally, they have to undermine trust in a significant portion of Trump supporter MAGA Republicans are 75, 80%, like mostly MAGA. And so what are they going to come up with? It has to be, videos that they've been working on and holding for a decade, or maybe World War III, everybody's going to circle the wagons. Maybe if we get like that Black Monday that they tried to convince us was going to happen and the stock market goes down 20 to 30%. But I don't even think that most Americans really care that much about the stock market. It's just that the media gets whipped up into a frenzy. So maybe a consumer recession, maybe some kind of black swan economic event. Maybe they'll finally get the golden BB hoax that's going to work, because none of this other stuff really has.
Well, I mean, this is the way. Like all we do is check the comment section, and there are people. Not going to name them. There are people who are unpopular and very popular inside the administration, but it's never a revolt against Trump. And, everyone has their own critiques, but it's never like Trump's losing voters. And everything that we've seen online, again, not going to name people who've literally promoted fake news on X and went viral for it. Like they have to make up people leaving MAGA, right? They have to actually fraudulently create. I'm a Trump voter and I'm so angry I'll only vote Democrats now. No way. It's not happening. And I just don't see the Democrat Party, and maybe this is something we can end on here, Mark. I don't see the Democrat Party on the trajectory that they're on earning anything back, right? Like you'd have to have like this really sobering come to Jesus moment, literally, and ditch all of the woke crap. And they're tripling down on it, man. And it's like AOC running hard to be the chief racehorse. It doesn't seem like they're going to do the mobilization towards the middle, like Bill Clinton model, that would be necessary to try and like peel off any MAGA voters. And maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, no, I mean, this is key. And I do think I don't think they should be dismissed, but I do think they're in a tricky situation. I did some analysis on my site that did look like, or on my Twitter feed. Forget about approval rating and just look at the share of voters that Donald Trump was able to get to convince to come to the polls and support him. And Donald Trump's second term actually stacks up really well against other prior presidents who have won. He actually edges out JFK in the proportion of voters who he convinced to vote for him. But it's much higher than his first term. So people saw the first term. I like that. I want more of that. And so they're going to double down. They wanted more of Trump. It was not the same way with Obama. He came in stronger than he went out, let's just say. And so people have to compare and take a breath and look around and say, well, okay, you might not like Pam Bondi, but remember Jeff Sessions. And I do think that Twitter doesn't represent real worlds. I think it represents the front lines of an information war. And so there are people probably rightly like whipping folks into a froth over things that they would like to have happened by now. And I maybe am guilty of some of that as well, but I think it's because I understand the huge opportunity of this stuff being released and what it might do on people's opinions and maybe shift the country even more. But people have to chill. Like one of the people we're talking about presumably is Pam Bondi. And it's like, okay, she hasn't been in the job that long, but we asked about her favorability. This is just like a week and a half ago. And she's got 42% favorable to only 34% unfavorable among all likely voters. That's pretty good. A quarter of them have no idea who she is. But among Republicans, it's 63% to only 18%, and only 8% have a very unfavorable impression. So Twitter, again, is not the real world. There's, the 100 million voters out there aren't chewing their nails about whether or not the Epstein list is going to get released. I think that's just, sort of the loudest folks.
So because of what you just said there, it sort of like blocks into a question that I have to ask here again in closing here, Mark, is that this individual who has come up with, we didn't think we'd ever hear more accents than we heard from Kamala Harris on the 2024 campaign trail. But lo and behold, I have a very short 15-second clip to play you, and you'll hear like at least 5 different accents in this AOC front runner in the 2028 Democratic primary. And I just want to get your take on that. Here we go.
Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud. Liable
the inflection.
for sexual abuse.
Abuse.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Oh no.
French, I think it's French.
When he talks about rapists and
Naked,
criminals,
maybe? I don't
he should
know.
look in the mirror.
How about et tu, Mark? Do you think that she's going to be the nominee?
Well, no. But again, we're talking about the really tough situation there. I said this on their show. I think that the crisis they had was authenticity, and the problem is that even if they come up with a good platform, a good answer that no, MAGA's not right, you could use our platform. It would be better at responding to all the needs and wants of the voter. People aren't even going to believe them. They're going to be like, well, you were just trying to get men, to compete in women's sports. And you can't just turn a corner and say, no, we're not for that all of a sudden. And we've seen Gavin Newsom try, and they rip him apart on Reddit. So even if they did, I don't know if it would play out. But you have this situation where, like, AOC, I was going to say before you showed that clip, like, she is to some people authentic, right? But her platform is objectively like horrible. It's not the one you'd want. It's like basically communism. And then so it's like, well, if they have an establishment Democrat that can come up with a good platform, it's going to lack authenticity. So they're in this catch-22. And again, with the numbers, it's a catch-22 as well, because in my polling, Kamala Harris among Democrats is still the front runner. Problem is that if you look at the betting markets right now, she's not doing well. It's like 5%. Gavin Newsom and AOC are the front runners. Problem is, in the polling, they are not leading. So it's like, what's going to happen? I don't know, but there's a huge vacuum, and there's a really great opportunity for some intelligent, authentic, outsider to come in and say, we're going to clean up the Democrat Party. We need to. You guys didn't do it. I'm going to do it, and I have authority. And that's one of the reasons, I talked about this. We polled on it like a month ago. Stephen A. Smith doesn't do that bad. Like, he only trails Gavin Newsom and AOC by a couple of points in Democrat primary, 3 and 4 points respectively. He only trails Kamala Harris by, it was under 20 points. That's really incredible considering that she, came as close as she did. So,
wow. I mean, maybe they should just go with Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I thought about it. And it's like, if you can go Stephen A. Smith, it's just go all the way and go Shannon Sharp. Just get the 100%. Go the full distance, right? Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Mark, it's always such an honor to have you on the program. You always bring such clarity in these moments. We can only pray for I guess careful what you wish for, but I think it'll be very entertaining, I suppose. A wide open Democrat 2028 primary process. Mark, Thank you so much. Everybody can follow Mark here at Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen Reports. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. Look at that. There you go, Mark. Fantastic. And
he just hit it last night.
He's the most accurate man in polling, and you should follow him. And Godspeed, Mark. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Great to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is time for announcements, right? So we got to go to the West Coast. We're going to be going on Adam Carolla's podcast. We're going to be speaking at CPAC in California, and we're going to be doing some special projects. And so while we will be live for big things like the President Trump's MAGA rally for the 100 days yesterday, this was a fantastic announcement. It's going to be a wild rally tomorrow, so I really hope that you'll tune into our channel. We'll be live with that. We're going to be releasing a schedule, and we're going to be doing our very best to be live during the show. Tomorrow we cannot, because we will be traveling. That's the only way you can get from East Coast to West Coast. Commercial is just like blowing out your day with an 8 or 9 hour flight. That's just the only way to do it. It sucks, but here it is. And so we'll be live for the MAGA rally tomorrow instead. So we're going to do a show tomorrow for the MAGA rally. That will be in Michigan. So, ladies and gentlemen, please lock in. That'll be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on West Coast time. And then, again, we'll be doing a lot of different events and having some really, we're really excited to be doing this CPAC panel with a number of Hollywood producers and so on. We're going to be locked in, obviously, and still doing tons of content, so stay tuned. But this is, well, you gotta be out there, right? You gotta be out there. You gotta be out there in the world. You gotta be fighting. As much as I love our cozy little studio here. Speaking of fighting, our verse of the day, Psalms 34:19. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. That's right. In fact, it is a guarantee that you're not getting picked on by the universe. It's what Killer Klein calls a life tax. That's right. Yeah, okay. I like that. It's a life tax. It's a guarantee that you're going to have troubles in life. The scriptures are very clear about that. So don't get down. Don't get sad. You're certainly not the first person. You're not the first guy with troubles. You won't be the last. It is a guarantee of living in a sunken world. The only thing you can actually do to buttress against it, to muscle through it, to keep moving forward is to keep moving forward and to make sure that you have faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. The Lord will deliver him from them all. That's right. Let that be your rock. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to rock and roll here. Thank you for watching. It's your boy Benny. See you on the West Coast.
What do you think you're doing?
Excuse me?
Stand right there. You look like you're sweating.
Well, it's hot.
Or you've been running.
Why would I be running?
Because you're a part of it. Pier 9, runners heading south.
I'm a tourist.
Tourists don't run. Droid assistance, please.
Wait, what is he?
He said hang.
I don't understand.
Hang.
No, he means what?
Hang.
Tell him you mean what?
It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.